Hello everyone, and welcome to the fourth habit, which is thinking win-win. Now this word win-win we use so very often, so oftenly used. But in the business perspective, what does it mean? It means that the individuals or the people who are participating in any kind of a transaction are thinking constantly about mutual benefit, and that's called win-win. So it's not actually a tool of management, it's not a technique of management, it's basically a philosophy. And this philosophy is based on the concept that there is plenty for everybody. So it is not necessary that one person's win has to be somebody else's loss, or one person's profit has to be somebody else's expense or loss. It's not necessary. So that is the concept on which this win-win theory works. Now you may say that is that the only way? There are about 6 types of interactions in business. Let us see each one of them one by one. What are these 6 types of interactions? The first one is win-win. The second one is win-lose. Now why win-lose? Win-lose is a concept which entrepreneurs adopt who have an authoritarian style of working. And we would have seen this in many of the family-owned businesses, where the person who has actually started the business continues to dominate the decision-making scene forever and forever and forever. So that leads to what? That leads to either the business going down, because it is not necessary that his one person's decisions will be relevant all along. So either the business goes down or the business gets split up, because people don't seem to agree with it all the time. Not everyone will agree with it all the time. So somewhere there are going to be conflicts and the business will split. So that is win-lose theory. Then comes lose-win theory. This is a little funny, because these kind of entrepreneurs do tend to make themselves popular, and in the bargain try and become very submissive, or at least appear to be submissive. This is some kind of a technique where you show that you are submissive, but then your ultimate goal or ultimate idea is to win over the other person. So this is one of the techniques. Lose-win is a technique. The fourth one, lose-lose. Now this kind of a scenario appears when, say for example, two win-lose kind of characters or entrepreneurs come for a business meeting. What will happen? Each one of them, has his own ego, has his own stubbornness. So what is going to happen? If win-lose and win-lose kind of people come for confront each other or face each other for an interaction, both are going to lose, because nobody would want the other person to win. So in the bargain, both are going to lose. The fifth one is the win interaction. Now what is this win interaction, and how is it different from win-win? If it's a win, how is it different from win-win? It is definitely different from win-win, for the simple reason that win-win considers two parts of an interaction, one and the other person. But in win, the focus of the entrepreneur is only and purely on his protecting his interest or his business interest. It is not that he wishes that the other person should lose. So it cannot be a win-lose, it's just a win, because he is purely thinking and trying to protect his business interest. And he is saying that the other party can as well think about their own interest. Why should I think about their interest? I am thinking of my. So it's like somewhat like saying being selfish, but not in the exact context. So what happens is, a win person or a win kind of an entrepreneur will always think about his own things without, very unintentionally trying to protect his this without considering the other person's win. So that is win. We spoke about each of these 5 interactions. Okay, you may say, how do we now decide which one we should apply when, how? So the answer is that there is no best option, or rather there is no one only option. The option that you have to choose will be situational. It will depend on what is at stake, what is the entrepreneur either willing to forego or willing to grab. These choices will define whether it is a win-lose, win-win or a lose-win, either ways. But for this to be identified correctly, what kind of an interaction one should have, it is not easy to identify that, because it needs a very accurate reality check, and that sometimes becomes challenging, because in most of the situations realities are interdependent. They are covering so many parties, so you can really not pinpoint and say that this is applicable. So what one needs to do here is that instead of trying to figure out the reality, many of us try and translate the situation into ABCD, that is win-win, win-lose. That's not what is expected to be done. You need to either be sure of the reality and its dependence, or the best option in amongst all these. I am not considering that as the only option again. Amongst all these, given the situation, win-win kind of approach comes out to be the best, or the most acceptable option. Let us put it like that. Win-win again is a scenario where you come back and say that I have given better things to the other person and I have also carried something for my benefit. How this flows into the 6th type of interaction. You may be thinking, why only 5 we have discussed so far? Why there is no discussion about the 6th one? Why I have kept it for the last is that this interaction is a little different type of win-win. Because what does it say? It says win-win or no deal. So either I have a deal with win-win or I have no deal. But that sounds like a little unrealistic or unimplementable scenario. So what is it? What is really at the helm of this kind of an approach? It is simple. The 2 parties or the 3 parties or all those parties involved in a win-win interaction, if they come across a situation that a win-win is not possible, so there is no deal, they would still not give up. They would still delve deeper to understand in more detailed terms what are the issues that the other party is facing and whether they can be resolved, and whether a win-win situation can be created. So these can be called as the firm believers of win-win. And when such people come together, it really creates an excellent kind of culture of interactions which benefit everybody, anybody and everybody. So having had a look at all these types of interactions and having understood what win-win can bring us, it is important for all the entrepreneurs to analyze and introspect the reality of the situation, what is at stake, and also whether that give and take is in a balanced form. Means where I win, where I lose. That balance needs to be maintained. Although, as we said, win-win is the one of the best situations. But depending on what the business scenario is, you can always evaluate and take a right call. We have discussed this particular thing in detail today, and I would like all of you to give your comments, post your queries, questions. We'll be more than happy to take them. But do think and do introspect when you are interacting with anybody, not just with your vendor, not just with your customer, but with your internal people as well. Because this win-win is something that is all pervasive. It's applicable everywhere. Whether it's your business interactions, whether it is your staff interactions, or any other interaction, any other social interaction as well. So do think about this and let us know your thoughts. Thank you.